We begin with the latest in Puerto Rico. The White House says it's doing all it can to help the island recover from Hurricane Maria. Three-star Army General Jeffrey Buchanan has been dispatched to the island to head up the federal recovery effort. And today, the U.S. Navy's hospital ship Comfort heads to Puerto Rico. 200 linemen, along with construction and project managers from the Flathead Valley, are heading to Puerto Rico to rebuild the island's entire power grid. The crew from Whitefish Energy in Whitefish will start rebuilding the transmission power lines that are vital to the restoration of key water supply dams. The company's CEO is in Puerto Rico right now and says the situation is large-scale urgent. He says they plan to grow the staff levels to over 300 to support the people of Puerto Rico for at least the next 6 months, but it could end up taking years to complete the project.
Usually when we come into a situation like the hurricanes that just hit the mainland U.S., we go down there, there's still some resemblance of a grid. You're repairing maybe 35% of a grid in those cases. Nobody's walked into a situation where they have to repair 100% of a grid. It has to be rebuilt, or near 100%. So we're looking at it pragmatically. We're ramping up appropriately to the task.
Also making national headlines this morning, Health and Human Services Secretary Tom Price has apologized for using chartered flights instead of commercial airlines. Earlier this week, President Trump told reporters he was looking into the secretary's spending of taxpayers' money. Price's office says he's writing a check for $52,000 to reimburse the government for the cost of his seat on those flights. Now we go to Yosemite National Park, where one person was injured after another rock slide. It happened Thursday at the iconic El Capitan Formation. This comes a day after a falling slab killed a British tourist and injured his wife in the same location. It is peak climbing season at Yosemite, and while rock falls are common, climbers say it's rare that they're deadly. On to local crime news. A teenage driver is hospitalized after another driver crashed into her head-on and fled the scene. Just before 7:45 last night, a male driver in a silver Honda was fleeing a Montana Highway Patrol trooper when the suspect turned the wrong way onto 4th Avenue North. At that point, authorities say the trooper stopped the pursuit, but the suspect continued down 4th Avenue North the wrong way at a high rate of speed. In the area of North 13th Street, the driver struck the oncoming Toyota, which was headed in the right direction. The 15-year-old female driver was taken to a local hospital. There's no word on her condition this morning. Two other people, a man and a woman in the Honda with the suspect, suffered minor injuries during the crash. At last word, the male driver, who fled the scene on foot, remains at large. A 45-year-old man involved in a 178-pound meth trafficking operation in Fishtail will spend the next 5 years in federal prison. David Dwyer was sentenced in U.S. District Court in Billings Thursday afternoon for conspiring to possess and distribute methamphetamine. The main player in the operation, 63-year-old Merrill Gardner, was sentenced in 2015 to 15 years in prison. Attorneys for Dwyer argued he was a minor player, only involved with about 2.25 pounds of the drug. Dwyer claimed he used most of the meth personally and didn't sell much of the drug. A third person in the case, a former Montana Sheriff's deputy, is serving a 5-year sentence for his role. Turning to the latest on MTM's Montana Wildfire Relief Fund, the next phase of distributing the money generously given to Montana's communities will begin on October 9th. That's when grant applications will be available for organizations all across Montana to apply for the funds. Fire departments across the state in need of equipment and resources are encouraged to apply. The Montana Community Foundation is also working with dozens of smaller communities to identify organizations that need help. The foundation has been fundraising for 30 years and distributed $41 million across Montana during that time. 100% of the donations for the Wildfire Relief Fund will go to communities in Montana. From the western side of the state, more than a month after 30 coal train cars derailed near Knoxon, the site is almost cleaned up. Jim Lewis with Montana Rail Link says the August 13th derailment, which spilled an unknown amount of coal into the Clark Fork, is 99% cleaned up. Most of that coal was loaded into rail cars and hauled off, but crews were not able to get it all. A vacuum truck will be brought in next week to remove all remaining coal. All 30 cars involved have been cleared away, but there was substantial damage to vegetation at the scene. Crews are now focusing on restoring that vegetation and hope to return the site to its natural condition by mid-October. 3 Montana Highway Patrol troopers who were first at the scene after Deputy Mason Moore's death back in May are honored at the Governor's Awards for their bravery. Troopers Benjamin Penas, Thomas Gill, and Timothy Wyckoff were honored earlier this week. Deputy Moore was shot and killed while attempting to stop an SUV traveling at a high speed. Trooper Penas was the first to respond to the scene, and Troopers Wyckoff and Gill led the pursuit of the suspects. Colonel Tom Butler said in a statement, quote, "We are immensely proud of the bravery and dedication to the public demonstrated by all officers involved on that terrible morning." From the MSUB campus, after another year of dropped enrollment, a new page has turned for the university. A new report shows 4,401 students are now enrolled. This is up from 4,366 students in the fall of 2016. About 2,400 of those students are from Yellowstone County, which is the highest it has been in 3 years. Montana State University in Bozeman also released its fall enrollment numbers. The report says the school is seeing a 2% increase in students this fall. 16,703 students are enrolled, and just over 10,000 of them are Montana residents. The school's 4-year graduation rate also jumped 2% to just under 27%. Back here in Billings, when Luther Sage Yellowstone Kelly died in 1928, the Billings Chamber, the city, and the state said it would build a grave site fitting for a veteran. The site was officially revealed with a ribbon cutting on Thursday afternoon.
Back to his fort by the Yellowstone and Kelly is my name.
The Ballad of Yellowstone Kelly was practiced, rehearsed, and performed for the first time. Kelly died in Paradise, California at the age of 89, and his body was brought to Billings to be buried at what is now the Yellowstone Kelly interpretive site at Swords Park.
When you die in paradise, where do you want to go? You want to come to Billings, Montana. So he made it clear that this is where he wanted to be buried. And it really is our opportunity to begin telling our story of our town, creating pathways, trails, and connecting to our heritage in a way that just makes us a more exciting place for young professionals and people that want to live here, enjoy the outdoors, and get out, be active on our trails, and stumble across some amazing history.
John Brewer says Billings has a trail of heritage and history, and the next phase will include Skeleton Cliff, Boot Hill Cemetery, and Colson Park. Now we take you to the town of Pryor, where students took to the streets to celebrate Native American Heritage Day. To celebrate, students from St. Charles Mission School and Pryor Elementary rode floats from Chief Plenikoos State Park through the streets of town before returning for a powwow. The princess and chief of every grade waved to the crowds as they rode on by. The parade is part of the school's Heritage Week, in which the students learn about different aspects of the tribe's history from their teachers as well as guest speakers.
Cultural for the kids. They get to do fun things, and it's something we do every year for the kids at school so they can reconnect with their culture.
And originally the parade was scheduled for last week, but due to the rain, it was moved to this week. I'm sure